Education is a great leveler and is the best tool for achieving economic and social mobility, inclusion, and equality. This dream that is envisioned in the National Education Policy 2020 has already been brought to reality by GLS around a century ago. Astutely realizing the constant shift in the education sector, where equity, sensitivity, and inclusivity are three key factors, GLS took a pioneering role in bringing about an innovative vibrancy in academia by offering programs in several disciplines for all students. Women's Development Cell, one of the crucial statutory committees of GLS University, was established in 2015 with a purpose to create an open space where we have discourses on various issues, specifically from a gender lens. In the process, we try to unlearn, learn, and relearn certain concepts that are core to our social milieu. One is not born, but rather becomes a woman. A very famous statement by Simone de Beauvoir indicates the power of society in dividing human beings on the basis of certain assumptions. Gender equity, equality, inclusivity, patriarchy, feminism, ये सारी terms हम सुनते बहुत है. But most of the times we don't really pause to think about them, to go deeper into these terms and actually see them work around us. Today we have gathered to take that pause and think about the issues that we superficially read or hear about. मैं डॉक्टर नीरजा वसावडा आप सभी का इस पैनल डिस्कशन में हृदयपूर्वक स्वागत करती हूँ. आज हमारे साथ 6 panelists हैं, all stalwarts in their own fields. I'll introduce all of them with you. We have with us Mr. Kaushik Das. He's currently working as VP, Talent Learning and Performance Management, Citibank. He also manages the entire institutional client group and other operations and technology businesses in South Asia. He has 15 years of corporate experience and having worked in consulting, academia, startups, promoter-given organization to Fortune 25 companies like Siemens Limited and now Citigroup, he has received BML Munjal and Brandon Hall Gold Award for driving learning and development projects, creating business impacts. He has spoken on both national and international forums, and he is a passionate digital content creator, wildlife photographer, and filmmaker. I request Dr. Belur Bakshi to give away the memento to Mr. Kaushik Das. Our second panelist for the day is Ms. Isha Shah, a corporate behavioral trainer who has worked with Tata, Wipro, Reliance, Siemens, Aditya Birla, only to name a few. She's also an academician where she shares her industry expertise with the students of reputed business institutes across India. Despite her interesting profession, she is more easily identified as the co-founder of Foodaholics in Ahmedabad. She has had the privilege to be a TEDx speaker and hold a Guinness World Record, all thanks to the recognized love for food. She's currently raising a 1-year-old daughter to become a sane citizen of this world. I request Dr. Meenal Joshi to welcome Isha ma'am with a memento. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce you with Advocate Megha Jani. Ms. Megha Jani has been practicing at the High Court of Gujarat since 1993. She has appeared and attended matters before the Supreme Court, NCLAT, NCLT Ahmedabad, NGT Kolkata High Court, Company Law Board, New Delhi, BIFR, AIFR, DRT Mumbai, and City Civil Court, Ahmedabad. She's a litigation lawyer, and the nature of her practice pertains to various laws, including civil, criminal, constitution, company, taxation, municipal laws, service and labor laws. She has represented Election Commission of India, Ministry of Railways, Union of India, all public sector insurance companies, certain educational institutions, as also many corporate entities. I request Dr. Swati Modi to offer a memento to Megha ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. We also have with us Ms. Minnie Joseph, currently posted as an ACP of the Mahila Cell, Ahmedabad Police. Ma'am started her career as a computer teacher in 1997. In 2001, she was recruited in the PSI batch, where only 7 women were selected out of 213. After that, she has served as PI, then DYSP, in the span of 21 years. A role model to many, Ms. Minnie Joseph has contributed immensely in spreading awareness about women's safety and security. I request Dr. Neha Shroff to welcome Minnie ma'am with a memento. Our next panelist, Ms. Riri Trivedi, is the co-founder of Wellness Space and Society for Energy and Emotions, and she teaches regression therapy and life coaching with specific focus on adverse childhood experiences, healing the child within or inner child, and hypnotherapy. She's a certified trauma-sensitive heart math practitioner and a certified inner child integration therapist from International Association for Integration Therapy and Training, USA. Ma'am is also an integrated clinical hypnotherapist and was a trainer from ECA Foundation, India. I request Dr. Seema Pandit to welcome Riri ma'am with a memento. And then we have with us our own Mr. Krunal Shah, a former GLSite. Krunal Shah has a heart for volunteering with exceptional skills. He's currently serving as a youth advisory board member, UNICEF India, and Yuva, and also curator, Global Shapers Community, Ahmedabad Hub, an initiative of the World Economic Forum. Most recently, he represented India at the United Nations in Geneva, where more than 500 young delegates under 30 years from across the world were present and spoke fiercely on the topics like youth engagement in SDGs and civic engagement for greater change in society. He has over 8 years of experience in humanitarian services, volunteering, volunteer management, youth engagement, and emotional intelligence. I request Seema ma'am to offer a memento to Mr. Krunal Shah. Let me introduce you to the moderator of the panel, Ms. Rebecca Sudan, founder of Rebecca's Image Station. She is an image enhancer, behavioral corporate trainer, educator, and a happiness coach. Through her training programs and workshops, ma'am helps her clients become more self-aware, confident, and thereby helps them create personal branding. She engages with corporates such as Zydus Hospital, Ahmedabad and Baroda, Vivo, Borgis, Pet Puja, and more in the area of communication, people management, professional etiquette, leadership skills, emotional intelligence, and so on. When she's not training at corporates, ma'am finds her peace stimulating young minds at universities through courses and workshops in leadership, communication, management lessons from mythology, stress management, gender sensitivity, etc. I request Dr. Vinita Anandan to welcome Rebecca ma'am with a memento. And I request Rebecca ma'am now to escort the panel to the stage so that we start with the discussion.
Yes, so we were all born equal, and then society happened. So, while gender is just one of our identities, it's interesting how more than often it it is something that starts deciding how much we can participate, how much we are seen, how much we are heard, and our safety, our income, and also whether we can lead. But I'm glad that we have such eminent panelists here with us today who are willing to talk about the need for equality and equity, because we don't need to be really surprised, because that is how it was always meant to be, right? The world was meant to be equal, and that's why we're all here trying to get back to status quo, to what it was supposed to be. Well, I'm Rebecca Sudan, and I'll be in conversation with this esteemed panel for the next 1 hour today. I'm not moderating it, although that's what the designation says. But trust me, when I heard these people there in the back, I mean, in the green room or in that discussion room, I just realized that all we have to do is just get into a conversation, and this is really going to get very interesting. So, uh, normally we follow the chivalrous women first etiquette, but then here we are talking about equity and equality, and I understand that it's not just about representation, it's about quality representation that we just heard in the talk before this. So I'll begin today's conversation with Mr. Kaushik Das.
Hello.
Yes. So I was just doing a little research for this talk today and for this panel discussion today, and I came across some interesting statistics. I thought I should talk to you about it. So, according to the female-focused results of Mercer's 2021 India Total Remuneration Survey, India INC still has a long way to go for true gender equality. Keeping all variables the same, the ratio of female compensation to male pay was almost equal at the entry level. But this ratio dropped, with women executives at the mid to senior levels earning only about 87 to 95% of their male peers. So that's gratifying, but not very happy. So, some reasons for this drop in pay were the slower pace of promotions, development opportunities, and the women representation in certain roles in organizations. Now, with your extensive experience in driving leadership and development interventions, what are some quick strides that companies have already taken to bring it to this number? And what is yet to be done to empower women for this statistics to like continue and not drop somewhere?
Thank you for that question, and respected panelists, uh, all the faculty members present here, and my dear students. It's been great to be part of the panel and come back to this historic, I would say, institution. I remember I was telling this to somebody that I stepped into GLS in 1999 first time, seeking admission. Then I ended up in HL, of course. But, so I've got my roots here, but of course I will stick to the question just to start, and starting it in a different way, in a diversity driven talk where I was expecting a question not being thrown at me first, but that is what exactly breaking the silos. So when you talk about corporate, of course I work in organizations, and today private sector has played a very important role in demystifying a lot of concepts. And it's not about the responsibility of the government, that we always say that government should do X and Y, but private companies, and specifically if I may say that multinational corporations, have played a huge role in changing the entire landscape or the ecosystem, the way we look at things. And you are completely right with the statistical figures by Mercer. You talk about Gallup or maybe SHL. And globally, even if you look at, there is a kind of gender pay gap, of course, which is by almost 19-20%, because what she rightly mentioned, if it's 100, somebody is getting 80. In corporate, at the introductory level or the junior management level, it does not exist. But when you grow up the corporate ladder, I'm talking about the CXOs or the board of directors, one of the fundamental challenges is not number of people being the representatives to those positions. And the second is because the way we are looking at the positions in organizations, it is not there much in the service industry. But I have worked in manufacturing. You talk about even IT, education I will not speak, because you see a kind of uh, the parity is pretty much there and is getting better. But if I don't talk about services and I focus more on the manufacturing side, it's huge. So you will see that with my experience, if I'm going to give you actually an example by not naming those companies. If there are 10 positions for board of directors, there will be either zero or one person representing the board, and that one person will be necessarily or invariably from HR, will not from the side of business. So what has happened in organizations today, see, the perception is reality. Okay, so we cannot change that much, but we have to only take the stride to change. So people have started perceiving that if you are perhaps from a particular gender, it's not about men or women, but particular gender, you are made for these roles. Now who has created that? God created us all equal, but is the society, the religious beliefs, they are doing the discrimination part. So just to cut it short, of course it's a huge challenge, but the organizations where I work, and again I will not take names, but in service industry and specifically in multinational corporations, those who genuinely believe in a VUCA world, we call it VUCA, right? Volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, and post pandemic, all of a sudden there's a kind of sense of urgency that we need to have 50-50 distribution at the board level. I'm not talking about at leadership, only board level I'm talking about. And American organizations have been doing phenomenally well, and that's what exactly your first question. uh, and the second part is, where is the gap on what we are trying to do? So if you look at corporate today, there's a philosophy called pay per position. Yeah. So how realistically Indian organizations are doing is questionable. But when you talk about some organizations which are top 10 in India, it could be including even the MNCs, there's a philosophy called pay per position. So if I have a role of a CEO and there's a position there, we will go by the merit and not by the gender. And if the position says it is going to be around what, you say some 20 cr, so it will be irrespective of the gender that you actually represent. So pay per position, if you do your research and all, lot of organizations which are promoter driven, they still have not been able to reach to that stage. So that's where I take a pause and maybe then open for ideas.
Yeah. So Isha, I really obviously want to point the next question to you because we are again talking about the corporate world. Yeah. So you've been a behavioral trainer. You are a behavioral trainer. You work towards building relevant competencies in people so that they can achieve peak performance. Now, do you think that all genders need to work on different or very specific competencies to thrive in the corporate world so that we can find space in that boardroom? So I'm happy that we've opened to an idea like that, and I'm hoping that more companies and more organizations will be open to it. But do we have people to fill those spaces? One, and do you think you need to train people in different competencies so that they can fit that role?
I like the direction of your question because nobody really speaks about this when we initiate conversations as far as gender equality or inequality is concerned. Are women willing to fill that space? Right? I come across a lot of people where I have conversations with women who are like, hey, we did not get that position because, well, it's a man's world out there. But when I meet them and interact with them in person, I see a lot of gap in the skill set that they need to fill that position, right? So I think many women have found comfort in just blaming the societal norms and pressures कि hey मैं आगे नहीं बढ़ पाई क्योंकि मुझे opportunity नहीं मिली, but I really want to like hold them by their collar and tell them that hey तुम आगे नहीं बढ़ पाए because you didn't try hard enough, right? So it's for us an individual in a very gender free, and I'm speaking from my very very limited experience in comparison to everyone's experience on the stage today, right? I have a very very limited experience in theory of relativity right now, but from that I would like to tell you that many many women also use this opportunity to play the victim, saying that hey मुझे नहीं मिला क्योंकि I'm a woman, right? So I believe I have had to play a lot of extra role beyond my key, KRAs, where I was only supposed to go train the people in the specific skill set. I've actually counseled people into telling that you have it in you. You just need to give that extra percentage that the other person is giving, regardless of his or her gender, right? So yes, now companies are willing to sort of focus on women taking, like I have met mentors who have not given a way ahead to their male employees just because some people have that in them, right? The males sort of linger in the company for 12 hours and 14 hours and say, hey, we work harder than the woman who's going back home in 8 hours, right? But I have met I have been fortunate to meet mentors who have observed that the same woman is actually spending 8 very effective and efficient hours and finishing more work than their male counterparts. And they have given them opportunities to take leadership positions, right? So we are blessed, our generation especially is blessed with literate people, with people who are more exposed, educated, who know what's happening, who know what they need to fix, right? So we are no longer in the space where we need to initiate conversations, we are in the space where we need to start creating examples. We need to start moving into that direction, and I have been very fortunate. So I'm telling you, the corporate world out there is very welcoming, it's very wise, it is very aware. So it is only a part, it's only the gap between you proving yourself regardless of your gender, and the opportunities are still going to come your way. So it's only if you want to do it and you want to take it ahead. That's where everything lies now. Yeah.
One
Yeah.
thing if I can just add quickly in 30 seconds. If you look at an SHL report, it's a leading organization, does a lot of research. Out of 27 leadership skills that are required to be successful at a corporate level, 21 are mastered by women. 21. Only, so men have done well only in 7 areas. Yeah. So 21, so that is completely, I buy her point. It's also the willingness of an individual, somebody like a Indra Nui, or you talk about Jane Fraser, that you want to step up and you want to actually bite that bullet. But when you're talking about, do remember, even women have 10,000 more taste buds in their tongue.
Thank you, Kaushik.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. My question now is to you. You started your career like long ago. You have, have you seen the evolution of women lawyers in the legal sector since you started your professional career? Do you see the change? Do you feel that there are some special skill sets that are required now in the world of work to be able to not just thrive really well when we have such strong competition? Because yours is a sector again which is male, absolutely male dominated. So
It is an absolutely male dominated sector. Courtroom is, we speak in terms of winning a case and losing a case.
yeah.
It is like a battle every day. Every case is fought and won or lost like a battle. That's the language. It is very aggressive, very masculine. But the change that I have seen is because law is not just about courtroom.
Okay.
There are various aspects and various professional fields related to law. So the change, yes, a lot has changed in 29 years that I have seen. But the four major areas where there is a change is, if I may start from the very beginning, it is the education of law. There are more women students who are joining law courses. It's a conscious decision. Uh, Law and litigation, also non-litigation, the space that law has in corporate sector, that perception has changed. Law is the first choice, very conscious choice of many of the students who are now growing up. It's no longer a choice by default as earlier it used to be before 30, 40 years. And the education has improved. There are many good law schools, GLS being one of them. And Elisha was the only good law college that was there for a very, very long time. Uh, Most of our judges and lawyers, still, those who have graduated over 15 years, are all Gujarat High Court, they all come from Elisha. So this is the first thing where the participation of women has grown. Second is corporate world, non-litigation. This is where the participation of women in just sheer numbers has increased hugely. Third that I see is in women who represent government. We have a litigation still, I'll come to that later, but this is where it is visible. The number of assistant government leaders, number of assistant public prosecutors that we have, especially in Gujarat High Court, that has increased significantly. And the very major change that we see is in judiciary. Say, for example, when I joined in 1993, we didn't have one woman judge. The first woman judge came in 1995. And then it took another 9 years for another judge to be appointed in 2005. And now the situation is such that we have one judge from Gujarat High Court who is in the Supreme Court. The senior most puny judge of Gujarat High Court is a woman. And out of 28 judges that we have in Gujarat High Court, 6 are women. So this is a very significant change that has happened, and it has percolated. The number of women judges in lower judiciary and district judiciary also has significantly increased and is increasing. So I think this is one major change which has happened. What has changed in terms of what it needs from women lawyers, I won't say much, because litigation is one of the old professions. It remains very much the same. Yes, there are the changes which are made, but the classic way of litigation remains more or less the same. So in terms of development of skills, it's just the same. It's still the question of sticking it out for a long time. It's still the question of having lots and lots of patience in first 10 years of practice. There are no rewards. There's a long waiting time. It's still the very unpredictable nature of work. You don't know what your day is going to be like. Will you end up waiting in court for 5 hours, or will you successfully argue five matters in court? It's nobody's guess. So in terms of that, it remains the same.
Yeah. So now that you've kind of shared this and we're happy with the numbers, it's just you can literally heave a sigh there and you can feel nice. But I have another thing from my own experience of visiting courts, or about of sometimes hiring lawyers for something. Do you feel from the other side of the table that there is a different way in which women lawyers have to be able to kind of work a little extra hard in order to make their space in the court, or even when they're approached by clients, what kind of a lawyer? So does a gender come to play here when I'm choosing a lawyer for a certain kind of a case? So if it's like corporate law, when it's criminal, do you think it somewhere affects people's choices?
Yeah, it does. It does. In the beginning, it certainly does. If you stay there for long, then the age, I think, balances the gender. Age and experience balances the initial inequality. But in the beginning, it does. When I started at 23, I thought that why would anyone hire me to represent their case in court? A 23-year-old woman, look at her.
Yes.
There are so many other male masculine lawyers who can speak louder. I'm so thankful to the loudspeakers that we have in courtroom now. Otherwise, one had to really shout, to get heard in the beginning.
Yeah.
But now with age and experience, it is different. You know that when you speak, the judge will look at you, even if 5 persons are standing. But in the beginning, it is tough. I still come across clients who I feel do not look at me eye to eye. They don't know how to do it at a distance of 3 feet.
Yeah.
But it is changing. That number is shrinking. But in the beginning, it is there. But our profession also, in the beginning, there is so much about tutelage that, for the first 5-6 years, there are very few cases which a person would get on individual capacity. It's something which comes to your office, to your senior, to your firm, and you're part of a larger team. So it's basically then showing your capacity to your senior, to the senior partners in your firm, and then it starts. But yes, it does play a role in the beginning. Everyone is there. I still feel that if a woman lawyer makes good arguments, when she moves around and tries to walk out, I'm sure she feels so many eyes on her, that, who is she, who has argued, because it's on. So it happens all the time. And then one wonders that, oh God, when is this going to go? But so it's there, it's there. But age and experience, I think, balances it out.
Yeah. So we'll have to all, I think all,
it's
got young lawyers here, you've all got to wait. Women lawyers till we can season and fight this.
Yeah.
But yes.
But one more thing, there are also, there are a few good seniors. There have always been who are sensitive. That number is increasing, I guess. And even among the junior lawyers, the friendship that we see among the male and women lawyers, that has increased. That communication, that friendship, which sort of gives a security net and allows. But it's very, I have heard it from a very senior woman lawyer in the Supreme Court. He says कि हम जब चिल्लाते तो वो चिल्लाना हो जाता है, और रोहतगी बोलते हैं तो it's like oh what a lawyer he is. So it is like that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. तो मैम आपका प्रोफेशन भी कुछ ऐसा ही है, टोटली मेल डोमिनेटेड. सो आपको कभी ऐसा लगा कि यू हैड टू वर्क हार्डर कंपेयर्ड टू योर मेन काउंटर पार्ट्स, कि आपको अपना पोटेंशियल प्रूव करना पड़े इस डोमेन में, क्या आपको ऐसी कोई दिक्कत है?
आई एम लकी. मुझे मेरा जब फर्स्ट पोस्टिंग मिला भरूच में था. 5 साल मैं भरूच रही थी. और जैसे मैडम ने बताया कि हम लोग 5 लेडी या 7 लेडी ऐसी थी जो पहली बैच की थी, जो पीएसआई में पहली 5 लेडी ऐसी थी जो डायरेक्ट रिक्रूट हुई थी. तो जब मैं रिक्रूट हुई थी और जब ज्वाइन नहीं हुई, इससे पहले मैं जैसे एपटेक में काम करती थी, तो गांव के लोग मुझे देखने आते थे कौन सा प्राणी है जो लड़की होके एज ए सिलेक्ट हुई है, पुलिस खाते में जा रही है. लोग देखने आते थे. तो पहले तो ऐसा लगता था कि एडमिशन लेने आए, लेकिन जब बोलते हैं कि हम आपको देखने आए, तो मतलब वो थोड़ा ऑकवर्डनेस फील होने लगा कि अच्छा ये दुनिया कुछ और है. हम लोग माँ बाप के संरक्षण में रहते हैं और बाहर जब निकलते हैं तब लगता है कि ये दुनिया कुछ और है. लेकिन जब मैं डिपार्टमेंट में आई, जब मेरा पोस्टिंग हुआ, तो मेरे एसपी बहुत अच्छे थे. और मैं कह सकती हूँ, बहुत कॉन्फिडेंसली कह सकती हूँ कि उनके दिमाग में बिल्कुल जेंडर बायस नहीं था. उन्होंने मुझे पोस्टिंग पहली दी. शायद गुजरात में मैं पहली महिला हो सकती हूँ जिसने जनरल पुलिस स्टेशन, नॉट महिला पुलिस स्टेशन, जनरल पुलिस स्टेशन में मुझे इंचार्ज के तौर पे रखा गया. सर ने मुझे जब रखा तो गांव वालों ने जाके रेकमेंड भी किया कि सर ये एरिया कुछ ऐसा है और आपने यहाँ पे महिला थानेदार रख दी है, ये कैसे टैकल कर पाएंगी, ना ये ना वो. बहुत सारी रिप्रेजेंटेशन हुई, लेकिन सर ने बोला कि नहीं, इट्स ओके, उसको रखा है, इसका मतलब ये तो नहीं कि वो वहाँ पे बैठ जाएगी. अगर वो नहीं परफॉर्म कर पाई तो वो मैं चेंज कर दूंगी. लेकिन लकीली मैंने वहाँ 2.5 साल काम किए, नॉन करप्टेड, मतलब इंटरप्टेड. किसी भी उन लोगों ने भी वो चेंज किया कि हाँ चलो कोई बात नहीं. लेकिन हाँ, ये चीज़ ज़रूर है, जैसे मेघा मैडम ने कहा, आइज़ आप पे रहती है. आप कुछ अलग आए हो तो आप जो जनरल लोग 5 चीज़ें करते हैं वो 5 आप करोगे तो आप नोट में नहीं आओगे. लेकिन जैसे ही छठी करते हो तो अच्छा, ये कुछ अलग है, ये कुछ है, ये फील करने के लिए आपको छठी 7वीं चीज़ें करनी पड़ती है, करनी ही रहती है. और मैं एज ए लेडीज़ के तौर पे ये कहूँगी मेरे 21 साल की सर्विस में कि जब हम वी आर मल्टीटास्कर, महिलाएं मल्टीटास्कर होती है, तो हमेशा हमारा जो मल्टीटास्किंग है ना उसको यूज़ करो. पर हमारी चीज़ें हम जानते हैं, हम जैसे अपने घर से बाहर पैर रखते हैं तो हमें घर की भी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टेक केयर करनी होती है. तो कभी भी उस चीज़ को आप प्रोफेशनली मत रखो कि सर मुझे आज ये प्रॉब्लम है, वो प्रॉब्लम है, वो मत करो. कभी कोई मेल नहीं बोलता कि सर मुझे आज जल्दी जाने दो, मुझे गर्लफ्रेंड से मिलना है, कोई नहीं बोलता. लेकिन हम लेडीज़ बोलती हैं कि सर घर पे पति देव हैं, उनकी सेवा करनी है. तो वो इफ़ेक्ट करता है, हमारा इंटेंशन कुछ गलत नहीं होता, लेकिन सामने वाला सोचता है इन लोगों का यही प्रॉब्लम है, तुरंत वो चेंज हो जाता है. और वो नहीं होना चाहिए. हमें बहुत मैनेजमेंट, हम वी आर मल्टीटास्कर. मैं अभी भी कहती हूँ, एज ए जेंट्स कोई मल्टीटास्कर नहीं है. हम रसोई में भी अपनी मम्मी को देखते हैं, चाय भी बनती है, आटा भी गूंदा जाता है और सब्जी चढ़ी हुई होती है, ठीक है, और साथ में बच्चों को डांट भी लगती है, चलो उठ नहा ले, ये कर ले, स्कूल नहीं जाना, कॉलेज नहीं, ये सब चलता रहता है. वो कर सकती है तो हम भी क्यों नहीं. ये चीज़ें हमें देखकर, ये लड़कियों के लिए मैंने बोला या गर्ल्स के लिए बोला, उसी तरह बॉयज़ को भी ये समझने की ज़रूरत है कि हम कितना करते हैं और ऑफिस आते हैं, और ये लोग कितना करके ऑफिस आते हैं, और ऑफिस से जाने के बाद इनको कितना करना होता है और हमें कितना करना होता है, वो समझने की ज़रूरत बॉयज़ को भी है. तो शायद ये चीज़ें जैसे आपने मुझे पूछा कि नहीं मैं लकी रही थी, मुझे कोई ऐसा कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुआ था। हाँ, थोड़ा ज़्यादा करना पड़ता था, जहाँ पोस्टिंग होती थी वहाँ का स्टाफ, सर लेडीज़ है कैसे मैनेज करेंगे, बात कैसे करेंगे। और इन अवर पुलिस स्टेशन या इन अवर डिपार्टमेंट हर तरह के केस आते हैं जिसमें हमें खुलकर बात करनी पड़ती है। ये हुआ है, वो फिजिकल हो मेंटली हो, वो हमें खुलकर बात करनी पड़ती है। तो एज ए ऑफिसर वी आर फर्स्ट लेडीज, तो उनको थोड़ी झिझक होती थी कि ये बात इनसे कैसे करें, जैसे रेप केस में होता है डिटेल में बात करनी पड़ती है। जब हम पोस्टमार्टम में बॉडी चेक करते हैं तो वो डिटेल में चेक होता है। तो वो लोग पहले तो ये सोचते कि मैडम कर पाएगी, मैडम लाश देख पाएगी, मैडम से ये बात कर सकते हैं, तो वो हमें आगे बढ़कर हमें वो शुरू करने पड़ता है। तो वो फिर अपने आप वो मैनेज हो जाता है, लेकिन काम ज़्यादा करना पड़ता है, ये 100% है जी।
मेरा आपसे एक और सवाल है, एक और सवाल कि जब आपने ज्वाइन किया था और आपको लकीली इतना अच्छा एनवायरनमेंट मिला, इतना ज़्यादा सपोर्ट मिला, आपको तब के साथ जब आप अगर तब आप अपने साथ जितनी और महिलाएं जो उस टाइम पे रिक्रूट हुई थी, आपके जूनियर सीनियर्स, उनके एटीट्यूड में और अभी के, इनफैक्ट मेन और वुमेन दोनों के एटीट्यूड में आपको कोई फ़र्क लग रहा है इतने साल में कि थोड़ा सा जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है जेंडर्स के बीच में वो बढ़ी है, कम हुई है, हम लोग ज़्यादा अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो रहे हैं एक दूसरे की स्पेसेस, नीड्स, रोल्स को लेके, या फिर अभी भी वो गैप है जो था?
जैसे हमारे टाइम में हमारे वक्त भी थोड़े सीनियर ऑफिसर हमारे ऊपर थे, वो हमारे लेवल के थे या हमारे सीनियर थे, उनको वो झिझक रहती थी, या हमारे सबऑर्डिनेट होते उनको वो झिझक रहती थी। लेकिन अब ये देखने को आया है जैसे एक बैच में एक साथ भर्ती होते हैं या रिक्रूट होते हैं, उन लोगों के बीच ये झिझक नहीं है, वो बहुत कम हुई है। वो एक दूसरे से बहुत फ्रेंडली बात भी करते हैं, खुल के बात करते हैं। मतलब जो नॉर्मल एक जेंट्स जेंट्स के बीच बातचीत होती है, ऐसे अभी जेंट्स लेडीज के बीच भी बात होने लगी है। वो चेंजेस आया है, बहुत बड़ा चेंज आया है, क्योंकि ये सोसाइटी या ये उम्र ऐसी है, ये लोग साथ में पढ़ते हैं और ये लोग जानते हैं कि क्या हमें क्या करना है। हमारे दिमाग में जितना जेंडर वो था, बायसनेस थे, वो इन लोगों ने कैरी आउट नहीं किया है। लेकिन भी अभी भी बहुत सारी ऐसी जगह है जो अभी भी हमें तोड़ने की ज़रूरत है। सबसे बड़ी चीज़ कि लड़कियों को डेलिकेट होना ज़रूरी है, ये निकाल दो दिमाग में से। और लड़के डेलिकेट नहीं हो सकते, ये भी निकाल दो। ठीक है, डेलिकेट किसी जेंडर के लिए नहीं है, वो इंसान के लिए है।
तो दिस इज अ वेरी ऑब्वियस सक्सेशन नाउ, बिकॉज अब हम लोग जेंडर रोल्स की बात कर रहे हैं, और ये जितनी हमने बातें करी, चाहे वो कोर्ट रूम में हो, चाहे वो इनके फील्ड में हो, पुलिस में हो, चाहे वो कॉर्पोरेट ऑफिसेज में हो, शुरू तो सब कुछ घर से होता है। है ना, ये सारी कॉन्वर्सेशन घर से शुरू होती है, जेंडर रोल्स घर से बनते हैं। लड़कों को कैसे होना चाहिए, लड़कियों को कैसे होना चाहिए, क्या एक्सपेक्टेशंस है। फॉर एग्जांपल अभी हम लोग स्किल्स की बात कर रहे थे, पर ईशा और कौशिक दोनों बता रहे थे कि हमको उनको मोटिवेट करना पड़ता है कि आप में कैपेबिलिटी है। सो वी नीड समबडी कि उनका पोटेंशियल आइडेंटिफाई करवाने में उनकी हेल्प कर सकें। कहीं पर ये जो नॉर्मल सपोर्ट मिलता है मेंटरिंग का, वो हमें बहुत ज़्यादा लगता है क्योंकि वो अनएक्सपेक्टेड है। तो ये जो सारी चीज़ें, ये जो सारे जेंडर रोल्स जो घर से शुरू होते हैं, इनके लिए, बिकॉज यूर अ थेरेपिस्ट, आप तो इतने सारे लोगों से मिलती हैं, ना कि उनकी बातें पर उनके एटीट्यूड्स, उनके मन में छुपी हुई चीज़ें, उनके दिमागों में छुपी हुई चीज़ें जो वो आपसे आकर के शेयर करते हैं सबसे वल्नरेबल मोमेंट में, ऑफ कोर्स कीपिंग ऑल कॉन्फिडेंशियलिटी इन प्लेस। आप हमें थोड़ा सा इंसाइट दीजिए कि कैसे, हाउ डू वी स्टार्ट वर्किंग ऑन।
Yeah. So first thing is I would just like to give मेरा खुद का पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस मैं बताऊंगी इसके बारे में। अब मेरी मदर जो है 85 years old है, वो HL में पढ़ी थी, 3000 लड़कों में वो अकेली लड़की थी तब। ओके, तो वो उस पीढ़ी की बात हुई। एज अ लेडी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट उस जमाने में लड़कियां सीए नहीं करती थी, हालांकि कॉमर्स ही नहीं करती थी तो सीए की। सो शी वाज अ फर्स्ट प्रैक्टिसिंग लेडी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट इन गुजरात। ओके, शी इज 85 नाउ। तो मेरी मदर की बात हुई। अभी मेरे तो घर में मैंने जैसे देखा है, मेरी बेटी है जनरेशन जी। ओके, आईसेक अहमदाबाद करके स्टूडेंट्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है। 38 years में शी वाज ओनली द सेकंड गर्ल प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इन 38 years। द फर्स्ट वन वाज 4 years ago। मतलब फॉर फर्स्ट 28 years देयर वाज नो गर्ल प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ अ स्टूडेंट्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। तो पर्सनली आई हैव सीन दिस चेंज। आज अगर आप सीए का रिजल्ट देखो तो लड़कियां ज्यादा आगे आ रही है, राइट? आज अगर बोर्ड का रिजल्ट देखो तो लड़कियां आगे हैं। तो पर्सनली मैंने जेंडर, जैसे मेरे फादर, मुझे याद है मैं जब एमबीए कर रही थी तो मेरे फादर दाल चावल सब्जी रोटी बना के रेडी रखते थे मेरे लिए। मम्मी ऑफिस से लेट आती थी तो माई डैड यूज टू प्रिपेयर द फूड एंड कीप. So personally, I have not seen this thing at home. But like you rightly said, and like I would agree with Isha and her, के विमेन के माइंडसेट के ऊपर ये बहुत डिपेंड करता है. आज एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर में भी मेरे नाना जो है वो फार्मर है, तो मेरी नानी का भी एज अ फार्मर, आप अगर एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर में देखो तो विमेन वर्किंग विमेन फ्रीडम डज नॉट मीन के पैंट शर्ट पहन के गुची की बैग लेके ऑफिस जाओ. जो खेत में काम करती है वो भी वर्किंग वुमन है. लेट मी मेक दिस वेरी क्लियर. तो इंडिया हैज लार्जेस्ट एग्रीकल्चरल सेक्टर एंड आई थिंक विमेन आर वेरी पावरफुल इवन इन द फार्मिंग सेक्टर. तो ये एक इशू नहीं है. पर जहाँ पे समझो देखा है, लाइक यू सेड, एज अभी मैं थेरापिस्ट पर्सपेक्टिव दूंगी, तो wherever girls have grown up in patriarchal families, के जहाँ पे उन्होंने देखा है कि मम्मी कॉन्स्टेंटली सब कुछ कर रही है, मम्मी डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस देखा है, यू नो, फादर मदर को मारते हैं, या मम्मियाँ कॉन्स्टेंटली सप्रेस्ड रही हैं. आज मैं देख रही हूँ कि द गर्ल्स आर गेटिंग पोलराइज्ड. दे आर ग्रोइंग अप कि मैं तो मम्मी जैसे बनूंगी ही नहीं. So they are actually becoming the other extreme, where I am working with more and more women who are coming with aggression, anger issues. They are in fact, I would say, look at equity and equality. I would not say कि women should become like men. जो actually हो रहा है, आज लड़कियां aggression के साथ आ रही हैं. वो aggression के साथ कि मैं तो ऐसा सहन करूंगी ही नहीं, मैं मेरे मम्मी की तरह suppress रहूंगी नहीं. और ये हो रहा है कि वो एक अलग स्पेक्ट्रम पे जा रही हैं, where they are not, see, marriage and gender roles I believe were created to make life simple. सिंप्लीफाई लाइफ. मतलब विमेन घर क्यों संभालती थी? क्योंकि कोई और जाके हंटिंग करता था, कोई खाना लेके आ सकता था तो वो पकाती थी. तो ये सिंप्लिसिटी के लिए था. पर आज क्या हो रहा है कि ये सब डिस्कशंस की वजह से कॉम्प्लेक्स, हमने ज्यादा कॉम्प्लेक्स बना लिया है. तो मेरे हिसाब से जेंडर रोल्स इन योर माइंड, इफ इट इज सिंपल एंड इफ यू कीप इट टू सिंप्लीफाई योर लाइफ, इट रियली डजंट मैटर कि खाना कौन बनाता है, कमाता कौन है. इट रियली डजंट मैटर. अगर आज मेरे घर में मेरे लड़के को खाना बनाने का शौक है, मेरी बेटी को बिल्कुल नहीं आता, ओके, तो इसमें कोई, आई एम नॉट सेइंग देयर इज जेंडर इक्वालिटी और इनइक्वालिटी. आई एम जस्ट सेइंग इट्स जस्ट सिंप्लीफाइंग. अगर खाना बनाना है तो मैं लड़के को बोलूंगी कि यार आज कुछ नया बना ले, बेटी को नहीं बोलूंगी. सो इट स्टार्ट्स एट होम. ऑल्सो आई वुड से दैट एवरीथिंग स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम चाइल्डहुड, बिकॉज मेरा काम ही है कि चाइल्डहुड एक्सपीरियंसेस कैसे अडल्ट मेंटल हेल्थ को इफेक्ट करता है. तो आज मैं देख रही हूँ कि अगर हम जेंडर इक्वालिटी की बात करते तो विमेन आर द फर्स्ट वंस हु स्टार्ट दिस सीड फ्रॉम चाइल्डहुड. घर में मेहमान आए हैं तो कितनी माएँ लड़के को बोलती कि बेटा चल चाय बना के दे, बेटा चल ट्रे में पानी ला के दे. बेटी है तो कर देती. बर्तन करना है, आज सर्वेंट नहीं आया है तो चलो एक जन बर्तन धो, एक साफ करो. ऐसा नहीं होता. यूजुअली लड़कियों को दिया जाता है. अभी अगर मदर्स चेंज होंगी तो this is going to change. So I think it begins with women only. Men have a say but not so much. It starts from there. So I think gender equality roles have to start at home. There is no difference in who does what if the mother decides it that way. This is what.
And also I think we need to stop this appreciation. I mean, I while we understand in our heart of hearts it's good to notice this progress, but the minute I have a son, like a 9-year-old, when he gets water, they're like, बहुत
हाँ, लड़का तो काम कर रहा है,
बहुत
ओह
अच्छा सिखा रहे हो कि उसको अब. एंड द इमीडिएट बैकअप, क्योंकि इतना ज्यादा थॉट प्रोसेस है, इमीडिएट बैकअप होगा कि हाँ उसको काम आएगा. अगर अकेले कहीं पढ़ने चला गया तो एटलीस्ट वो इतना तो कर
तो
सकेगा.
खाना बनाना तो लाइफ स्किल है ना, वो तो सबको सीखना है. खाना तो सबको चाहिए ना. तो मतलब so this is the mindset that I think, but it's changing.
I think it's just equal.
I think with our,
वो जो वैल्यू अटैच होती है with it, कि अगर कि एक काम को दूसरे काम से ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस मिलती है, उसके लिए कॉम्पनसेशन है, उसके लिए अप्रिसिएशन है, तो वो चीज़ ज़्यादा अच्छे से हो जाती है. आई ऑल्सो स्टार्टेड नोटिसिंग कि वो करता है क्योंकि उसे एक अपलॉड मिलती है. एंड व्हेन आई सी जब उसकी कजन पानी देती है तो इट्स परफेक्टली.
शेफ्स आर ऑल मेन, राइट? ऑल द गुड शेफ्स आर मेन. अगेन जेंडर इक्वालिटी का आर्गुमेंट उधर कहाँ कैसे चलेगा? तो ये थोड़ा सा
उस चीज को नहीं, आई थिंक रियली, क्योंकि उस जगह पे उस चीज को वैल्यू मिलती है क्योंकि किसी कॉम्पनसेशन है. उसमें आपके पास एक शेफ यूनिफॉर्म है, उसमें आपके पास एक डेजिग्नेशन है और एक हेफ्टी पे पैकेट है. Otherwise,
women are coming up now as chefs.
Yeah,
women are also coming up. So as a therapist, this is what I would say, that mindset, lifelong it stays. The childhood, what is etched, your childhood experiences. तो अगर आपने घर में इक्वालिटी देखी है तो ये कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं रहेगा, पर अगर आपने घर में इनइक्वालिटी देखी है, पेट्रियार्की देखी है, डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस देखा है, तो काफी पोलराइजेशन हो जाता है, लड़कों में भी हो जाता है, लड़कियों में भी हो जाता है, और फिर उस हिसाब से आप वो पोलराइजेशन में चलते हो, तो आई थिंक द बैलेंस इज रिक्वायर्ड, अदरवाइज इट इज वेरी सिंपल।
मैं एक छोटी सी चीज़ कहना चाहती हूँ कि जैसे अभी ये बोला है तो यहाँ की सारी लड़कियाँ बैठी होगी, वो सोच रही कल से मैं खाना नहीं बनाऊंगी, कल से मैं चाय नहीं बनाऊंगी, भाई बनाएंगे, पापा बनाएंगे। नहीं, ये नहीं है। हमें ये सोचना है कोई भी काम कोई भी इंसान कभी भी कर सकता है, हर एक काम हर एक इंसान कर सकता है, यही सोचना है, तो ये बायसनेस अपने आप चली जाएगी।
नहीं, एब्सोल्युटली, वही तो मैंने कहा कि विमेन जो पढ़ी लिखी भी नहीं है, हम जैसे मैंने कहा कि जॉब करना इज नॉट इक्वालिटी। आई नो मेनी विमेन हु आर हाउसवाइफ्स बट पावर उनकी चलती है घर में, देखी है मैंने ऐसी। सो अगेन आई एम जस्ट सेइंग दैट इट इज अबाउट हाउ स्ट्रांग यू आर, लाइक ईशा सेड, मेंटली डू यू वांट टू यूज अ विक्टिम कार्ड के बिकॉज आई एम अ वुमन I'm suppressed, or do you want to say no, I have equal rights, or there are some women who are much more powerful though they seem like they don't go to office, you know, so this also has to be looked at in my opinion.
No, yeah, please. Yeah.
But I think education, employment, and economic independence, it play a huge role.
Yes.
So one has to step out. Knowledge, the power of knowledge and power of money helps in bringing in equality. So it's so stepping out of homes,
It is needed.
and participation in whatever, and earning and controlling one's income. So I think, one issue which I feel that there are so many women who go out and work, but when it comes to investment, when it comes to, I'm talking about the whether we are talking about the woman who works in agriculture, she comes and she does not see her money. Similarly, even those who are educated, I see many women, we can argue tax matters, why can't we file our own returns, it's like that. So it's still one issue which needs to be addressed very seriously, about controlling one's own income, what one earns.
But I mean, I would also argue, I mean, I know that I've seen, like, my grandmother in agriculture, the money she would be paying wages, she would be collecting. So I don't know whether is it a mindset we have that people who are in the villages, women are less empowered versus women. I mean, I would just say it's a mindset thing.
वो माइंडसेट में एक मैं बात कहना चाहूँगी कि जैसे हम लोग मैं ही आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ कि दुनिया में कितनी औरतें हैं जो काम करती हैं, कि आप बता सकते हो, मतलब कितने परसेंटेज, कितनी औरतें हैं जो काम करती हैं? 100% काम करती है, नॉट सैलराइज वर्क। आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि सैलराइज वर्क, बराबर। अब ये बताइए कितने ऐसे पुरुष है जो काम करते हैं? क्या 100% बोल सकते हो आप? काम करते हैं। जो जॉब नहीं करता है वो घर पे काम करता है कि नहीं, वो हम 100%, वो 70 to 60% हो सकता है, ठीक है। जब 100% लेडी काम करती है, अब ये बताइए हमारे दुनिया में कितनी परसेंट लेडीज होगी जिनके नाम पे प्रॉपर्टी होगी?
Tax exemption, yes.
दैट इज,
Tax के लिए.
और वो जो भी प्रॉपर्टी है वो अभी इसलिए है क्योंकि उसमें गवर्नमेंट कंसेशन देती है, इसलिए वो लेते हैं कि बेटे।
Right.
तो ये चीज हमें चेंज करनी है। और जैसे मेघा मैडम ने कहा कि अगर आप, और जो ज्यादातर हम लोग सहन करते हैं घर पे क्योंकि हम इकोनॉमिकली स्ट्रांग नहीं है, अगर हमें कुछ स्टेप्स लेने हैं, कुछ डिसीजन लेने हैं, तो सबसे पहली चीज ये आती है हम कहाँ जाएंगे, कैसे रहेंगे, ये प्रॉब्लम हमारे दिमाग में आती है। और जब ये स्कोप नहीं रहता, ये रास्ता बंद होता है, तो हम जहाँ पे है वहीं पे रह जाते हैं। तो ये चीज हमें सोचनी है, करनी है।
Yes. Yes, Kunal. So on this very empowered group of women here, you finally have your turn to speak. I think at some point Kunal had completely given up. He's like,
I think सारी पंचलाइन 3 लोगों ने मार दी।
Men need to be empowered now.
yeah, yes. We've actually kept them on two sides here, two ends here, just to balance it, right? Picturesquely, yeah. Very, very smart placement. Yes, yes. So yes, Kunal, you work with a lot of young people, right? And we've been talking about different sectors here. we've talked about the home, we've talked about corporates, about the law field, about the police field. Now, when you talk about all of that, you work with this kind of like an out of classroom audience, right? It's a very, very different people when you see them outside. Trust me. So when you work with this really supercharged, almost like wanting, it's a very empowered group otherwise. So what is it that you see while you were a student right here, and now when you see, and now when you interact with so many people here in India, you have amazing exposure, you've traveled and you've met young people from outside. Do you see a significant change in the way the youth looks at equity and the need for equity for equality? Do you see that?
So, before answering this question, let me tell you, when we talk about gender equality, we always talk about men and women, right?
Yes.
But between this, there is another thing, transgender, LGBTQ also.
Right.
And when we talk about men and women, there are men and women with disabilities as well, whom we need to think. Because when we are talking about gender equality and everything, they all comprise of a society, and we are living in this society. So we have to think about that. Now, we youth are very much, हम लोग ऐसे बहुत चैंपियंस है, ठीक है, कि हम देश बदलेंगे, कि वी आर द फ्यूचर. ये हमेशा हमको कहा जाता है कि वी आर द फ्यूचर, बट लेट मी टेल यू, वी आर नॉट द फ्यूचर. यूथ इज नॉट द फ्यूचर. इसका आंसर मैं लास्ट में दूंगा क्यों. नाउ, मैंने ना वो सूर्यवंशम देखता था, ठीक है, हीरा ठाकुर अपनी बीवी को पढ़ाकर वो आईएएस बना देता था, तो मुझे लगता था अच्छा, बाहर की जिंदगी में भी ऐसा ही कुछ होगा, ठीक है. बट इट इज नॉट लाइक दैट. वी हैव सीन दैट यूथ इज टॉकिंग अबाउट जेंडर इक्वालिटी. हम लोग जोमेटो वाले पे वो जो अत्याचार हुआ था, तब हमने इंस्टाग्राम की पोस्ट तो डाल दी, ठीक है, पर बाजू के घर में डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस होता है तो हम नहीं बोलते हैं, ठीक है. दिस इज द फर्स्ट थिंग. सेकंड थिंग, हम लोग जितनी भी चीजें इंस्टाग्राम सोशल मीडिया पर बातें करते हैं, बट व्हाट अबाउट द ऑन ग्राउंड एक्टिवेशन? व्हाट अबाउट व्हेन वी गो ऑन ग्राउंड? हम वहाँ पे इक्वालिटी की बात नहीं करते, इक्विटी की बात नहीं करते, बिकॉज एट दैट टाइम वी सी आवर, हम खुद का फायदा देखते हैं. बट यू ऑल शुड थिंक कि why we need to talk about women's empowerment, why we are talking about it, because historically men has been given that power to frame the policies of the society. और जब कोई एडवांटेजेस पोजीशन पर होता है तो वो उसी तरीके से पॉलिसीज बनाता है जिसमें उसको एडवांटेज हो, एंड दैट्स व्हाई वी नीड टू टॉक अबाउट द वुमेन्स एम्पावरमेंट. नाउ, आई डोंट वांट टू टॉक अबाउट वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट. मैं नहीं मानता हूं कि वुमेन को एम्पावर करने की जरूरत है. यू वुड बी टेकिंग मी इन अ रॉन्ग वे, बट लिसन, वुमेन को एम्पावर करने की जरूरत नहीं है. दे आर ऑलरेडी एम्पावर्ड. गिव देम देयर राइट्स, गिव देम देयर वैल्यू, गिव देम दैट फेयरनेस, गिव देम दैट अपॉर्चुनिटीज विच दे वांट. हमने हमेशा सप्रेस करके रखा है कि नहीं, तुमको तो 12 बजे के बाद घर पे आना ही पड़ेगा, एक्सेप्ट नवरात्रि. आई नो.
नहीं, उसमें भी सॉरी, आई कैन बेग टू डिफर. उसमें भी समटाइम्स यू हैव टू हैव, like literally people escorting you.
Yes.
Brothers, friends, male friends, and all of it.
Yeah.
But this doesn't happen all the
I
time.
I'm a mother to a 1-year-old daughter. Okay, I'm just riding on that particular point. So I have been raised by an extremely protective and possessive father. Back when I was in 5th or 6th standard, I had a best friend who used to live on the 8th floor. So my father would drop me नीचे and के ऊपर जाने मैंने balcony में थी, हाथ बताओ जे. I'm like, तमने सो लागे छो ऊपर नहीं जो. So at that point in time, like, father doesn't trust me, and what are these trust issues, and I have to do all of this. It is so embarrassing. Today, after good 23 years, today when somebody asks me, why haven't you kept a nanny for your daughter? You know, you're working so hard. But my daughter still lives either with my in-laws or my parents only, strictly. So I'm like, until she can tell me that somebody made me feel uncomfortable, I'm not going to hire an external help for her. I want her to be in the protection of my immediate family. It took me 23 years to realize what my father was trying to do. Right, so he came from a position of extreme concern that lift में उसके साथ कुछ ना हो जाए तो balcony में जाके मुझे wave कर देना. Right, so it's not always like my brother got all the liberties, but I had to do all of this. Right.
Boys are also
So that is what. So they are not susceptible. Nobody's talking about it. And now we are moving into the area of a very different area. But some part of this gender inequality also stems from a lot of concern which we cannot see. We are very myopic. We always believe it is all very clean, men and women. But it's not that. It's coming because they have read a lot of things, they've seen a lot of things. Right? So it took me 23 years to understand my father after I became a mother myself. Right? So I really needed to make that point because, you know, not everything unequal as far as gender is concerned stems from the place of power or place of that is actually a place of safety and concern also.
Yes.
Yeah. So unless we make the society safe, we may not be able to. Some
So-
points will always remain different.
Yes. So gender equality also means that men and women are not same. Of course, they are not same. At some point of time, or at any point of time, there are some differences. But in the family culture also, कि as a youth आप लोगों ने देखा होगा कि जब शादी होती है ना, तब husband हमेशा कहते हैं कि मैं तुझे काम करने दूंगा.
Yeah.
You might have heard this.
Right.
Now, why I am as a male, मैं खुद को उस पोजीशन में क्यों रख रहा हूँ कि मैं किसी को अलाउ करूँ कि तुम काम करो. That is where the gender equality comes. जब हम जेंडर इक्वालिटी की बात करते हैं तो ये सारी चीजें हमें मालूम होनी चाहिए कि आई एम बॉर्न एज अ बॉय, शी इज बॉर्न एज अ गर्ल, दैट इज बायोलॉजिकल. ठीक है, बाकी राइट्स सबके सेम है, बट ड्यू टू हिस्टोरिकल, पॉलिटिकल, रिलीजियस, सोशल एंड इकोनॉमिकल सप्रेशन, आज वो राइट्स, आज हमें इसकी जरूरत पड़ रही है कि हम जेंडर इक्वालिटी और इक्विटी की बात करें. बट व्हेन आई कम टू द यूथ इज टॉकिंग अबाउट मेंस्ट्रुएशन, दैट इज अ गुड थिंग. Your youth is talking about financial independence of the women's, that is a good thing. They are supporting each other in each other's work, that is a good thing. They are advocating for the rights. But at the same time, are we, when we become a decision makers, are we involving them? Girls as a decision makers are invisible, you can say. They are not present anywhere. So बिकॉज फॉर्ब्स की लिस्ट देख लो, फॉर्च्यून 500 के नीचे 98% आर द मेन सीईओज. मैं आप में से भी किसी को पूछ लूंगा कि भाई टॉप 20 एंटरप्रेन्योर्स का नाम ले लो, उसमें से सबसे पहले अंबानी, अदानी, ये वो सब आएंगे. बट वुमेन्स विल कम एट द लेटर स्टेज. इवन इन द 2030 SDGs, वुमेन्स ने खुद प्रायोरिटी एरिया में जेंडर इक्वालिटी को 5th या 6th नंबर दिया है, रेदर देन गिविंग इट द फर्स्ट. एंड मेल्स ने वही चीज को 14 या 15 प्रायोरिटी एरिया पे रखा है. सो we as a society have to come together to work on this. We as a youth, हम कितनी पॉपुलेशन है, ठीक है, मिलेनियल्स, ये कह दो वो कह दो, हम कितनी पॉपुलेशन है. अगर ये पॉपुलेशन में से 50% who are the girls are missing, then it is the ये responsibility of the other 50% to bring them up and to give and advocate for their rights. Because मैंने यही बोला था स्टार्टिंग में कि यूथ इज नॉट द फ्यूचर, बिकॉज until and unless we don't invest in ourselves right now, we cannot be the future of this country. We cannot see. So as a youth, you have to invest right now in equality. Wherever you go, see equal. ठीक है? So that is the thing. क्योंकि अगर डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस हो रहा है तो उसके खिलाफ भी आवाज उठाना is everyone's responsibility. And I'm not talking about women and men. See, men को भी है ना mental health के issues होते हैं, ठीक है, वुमेन्स को भी होते हैं. बट वेन वी ब्रेक दिस स्टीरियोटाइप, मैम जस्ट टोल्ड कि डेलिकेट होना सिर्फ और सिर्फ वुमेन का काम नहीं है, मैन कैन बी डेलिकेट. ठीक है, वो हम मेंस को एसोसिएट कर देते जिम के साथ और गर्ल्स को नायका के साथ. दिस वी हैव टू ब्रेक एंड वी हैव टू ब्रिंग अ पर्सपेक्टिव दैट of course there are many advertisements which are very sexist, okay, I will tell, but at that point of time we have to advocate for that. And until and unless we don't speak up, you all don't speak up, that वो चेंज नहीं आएगा. क्योंकि हम 6 पैनलिस्ट यहाँ पे बोल के चले जाएंगे. आफ्टर दिस इट इज द पार्ट ऑफ यू ऑल 300 पीपल सिटिंग हियर टू टेक अवर वर्ड्स फॉरवर्ड एंड टू एडवोकेट फॉर अ बेटर फ्यूचर. बिकॉज मैं एज अ पर्सन इसलिए एडवोकेट करूंगा क्योंकि आगे जाके मुझे नहीं पता है कि मेरी डॉटर होगी या सन होगा. अगर मेरी डॉटर हुई तो आई डोंट वांट कि उसके साथ कोई भी इनजस्टिस हो, उसके साथ कोई भी इनइक्वालिटी हो, उसके साथ कोई भी पे में इश्यूज हो, या उसके साथ कोई भी सेक्सुअल हरेसमेंट हो. थैंक यू.
Can I add? Please go ahead.
कृणाल ने जैसे बोला कि हाँ मैं तुम्हें काम करने दूंगा, तब लड़कियों को बोलना चाहिए आप मुझे काम करने देंगे, इट्स ओके, लेकिन आपको घर का काम करना पड़ेगा. तब तब इक्वालिटी आएगी, मैं तो ये समझूंगी. पर ऐसा भी नहीं है, करना पड़ेगा मतलब मेरे साथ करना पड़ेगा, आपको करना पड़ेगा ये भी नहीं चलेगा.
एक चीज और कहना चाहूंगी कि डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस की बात होती है तो बहुत कॉमन अंडरस्टैंडिंग है कि मैन बीट्स अ वुमन, बट एक्चुअली आई एम सीइंग अ ट्रेंड चेंजिंग नाउ. No, I'm saying because I am a therapist. There are a lot of men who are being abused by wives who have anger issues, who are physically violent. And because of the societal stigma, these men are not coming for therapy. In therapy, when we have For every 10 people who come to us, there are hardly 2 men. 8 women come for therapy. Men are not allowed to be weak. Men are not allowed to be vulnerable. Men are not allowed to seek help. Men are not even allowed to admit that my wife is beating me. My mother was abusing me. No, I'm serious. And this is a big problem. So whenever there is a gender equality discussion, I definitely bring this up because as a therapist, I have worked with a lot of men who have been physically abused, sexually abused, and emotionally abused by women. And these are women who are lashing out because of generations of suppressed ancestral suppression or feminine suppression.
Let me give you a kind of career view here, because other than domestic violence and all, there are few things we cannot think of changing overnight, but I can give you some perspective. I am a believer of the fact, having worked in corporate, and even my reporting manager is a woman, right? So if you do what others have done, so you survive. But if you do what others have not done, you lead. That's what exactly the differentiation is the key. And people have been talking rightly that you need to be masculine. So girls don't need to be masculine, because at the workplace, you grow, you innovate only because of the differentiation that you bring in. So girls, the way, perhaps there's a wonderful book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. So try to celebrate your individuality. That's what we try to preach in the corporate. And I am not a very, though it talks about women development cell. Now, development and empowerment. Development is there for everyone, right? It is gender agnostic. But when you're talking about empowerment, the fundamental is there is a principle perhaps you people will learn in your academic curriculum and all, IDA. You know about IDA? Is anyone aware of IDA? Awareness, interest, desire, and action. So India today is at a stage where awareness at its peak. People are getting interested. That's why you see a Tata Safari car is being assembled by women. Tata Safari car in manufacturing. When you talk about desire, now it is to be driven by somebody from within. Now, desire cannot be created by some only awareness, it is also intrinsically to be driven, right? So, the only question I would like you to ask yourself, irrespective of your gender here, you are already empowered because the platforms are there, the policies are there. I keep telling this to my wife, what I will tell this to you. It is easier for people to start business today because the ecosystem has completely changed. 5,000 startups in the last 5 years. If you don't want to get a job, fine. You have an angel investor, you get started and become a sugar CEO, right? Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is anybody, I'm not getting into the LGBTQ and that is what I'm not getting into. But if you feel that you don't have opportunities, it is completely incorrect. You may not have activated your desire, and you think contextualizing that what my grandparents have done, and that's what exactly my career should be. So if you try to be different, that's where you lead today. That's what Indra Nui stands for, mother of two. That's what a Jane Fraser of City CEO stands for. They never said that I've got a family to take care of, because they know they are engineered to be critically more superior than men, and they're just capitalizing on that. And what we promote in an organization where I work, we don't want you to become like others. We want you to be like you, what you stand for, but bring your strength to the table. If you're not bringing your strength and try to actually replicate someone else, you will always look for empowerment. That's what I wanted to add.
Lovely. Yeah, so that's a very beautiful, very empowering. I mean, although you just said that not the word empowering, I'm saying it's a very empowering thought. Now, I have a question, a quick question for you, Kaushik, and for Pranal. It's so nice to be on such forums and when you can talk your heart out and you can speak your mind. And we've got all here, all allies of here. So when they say that when a woman stands up for another woman, then she stands up for all women. But what happens when men stand up for women? Now that is not very, so on such forums, it's easier to be able to speak your mind, to choose this side of the table. But what happens when you do this at work? What happens when you do this at home, in social circles? Does it become easier? Because I'll tell you from my experience. Just right after my marriage, I was still toying with the idea of whether I should change my surname or not to my husband's surname. And I was literally toying with the idea. It was very difficult decision. So the first thing that you take baby steps. So I thought of starting with social media. And I said, let's try that. And I was trying various permutation combinations sitting in my husband's home then on one laptop. And he came and he peeped into the laptop and he said, I know what's happening here. So what he did was, smarty pants, he went to the other side of that of the house and he changed his name on Facebook and he calls himself Claude Rebecca Gonzalez. And what followed was an anchor story in the Times of India, because obviously, like I said, you get celebrated when you do these kind of things. But what happened was the interesting reviews that I got underneath. Of course, when he did that, and when it came to, into the in the newspapers a week later, he didn't have the guts initially to walk out from our bedroom to the living room where his father was sitting. So he talked about everything, and it was, and I said, you could go and talk to the media. You could do this on social media where you have 1,000 followers, but you can't do it in your living room. And he was very surprised when my father-in-law congratulated him, and then my mom-in-law was really proud, and everybody else. But then there were these mixed comments that came, and it's still there on the internet, where the women are going gaga about it, and they're all saying, "Oh my God, lucky you, Rebecca, you've got such an amazing husband." But the men, oh God, I can't even begin to start from where it really kind of started. I mean, there's so many things that we literally have to go and delete. So what happens to you in forums which are like more real, in places which are more real? How do you, like, what do you deal with?
So, first of all, see again, we have been using the term called mindset quite frequently, and there are four facets to it. And maybe because we are into the corporate space and we teach in a very detailed manner, and we try to say that there's a fundamental difference between, there are four aspects. One is bias. I personally feel the entire world is biased, and you have to be. If you are human, you are biased. Then comes prejudice. Prejudice is something that perhaps you start forming your opinion about something because of your upbringing, your experience, and whatever. It could be good or bad experiences. But the problem starts from stereotypes. So, having not changing your surname, or maybe marrying to the surname of the other gender. So, for a lot of people, it will not be very encouraging, but it is a stereotype in our society. Who created? God. God created stereotypes. We created stereotypes. So if you are convinced about it, then only can you think of going and convincing the world. So first of all, when you change that, ask yourself this question: do you have the conviction and confidence what you stand for? I have seen in my life people don't stand with their conviction, and that's where exactly they wobble. So if people, those who have transformed the world, those who have changed the world, they actually hold on to their conviction. So first of all, ask yourself, are you confident and having that conviction in you to stand for what you believe? If you're able to do and go out and prove the world, people will start believing in you. That's where majority of the millennials, what I've seen in India at least, because I've traveled quite a few parts in the world, but in India, that's the problem, is there still you are scared of something, scared of the reputation of your so-called family.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
social, like,
so
acceptance.
that's the
Yeah.
kind of reputation of the family.
Right.
So let me ask this question. I will try to speak in Hindi here, though I've been speaking English. क्या क्या इंपॉर्टेंट है? माँ बाप का सर जो ऊंचा करना है, अपने कर्मों से करना है या खाली नाम का मीनिंग से करना है? किससे करना है सर ऊंचा? कर्मों से ना. So karma yog jo hai na, that is about, praying God. So there are a lot of people who become spiritual or maybe religious to get God. Your karma should decide how well perhaps your parents are going to be known as. So if your karma is stand by what you believe, which is going to do great to the society, one day people will actually try to object. You must have seen in movies na, dance, अरे लड़की क्या करती है? डांस करती है. अरे डांस करके क्या करना है? They have to go to maybe a kind of show and you become a celebrity and all. Then people will say, yeah, my daughter is a dancer. How many of your parents you ask that they would like you to be called as a dancer or a singer? So that's a stereotype. And the problem in corporate is not even the stereotype. The problem is discrimination. So bias, prejudice, stereotype, and discrimination. We know the world is biased. We know that the world will have prejudices, but we don't want people to discriminate. We would never say, the youth of India, what Krunal rightly said, we are empowered, but we will not be able to change India. That's why we have not been able to change. We have not been able to change because we are discriminating today. Our parents are discriminating. I must make that remark. Our parents are discriminating. So who can stand? I will stand by my wife by saying, you go and actually live the world. You go and become the bread earner. Why are you relying on me? You become self-independent woman. My responsibility is, if I'm so-called empowered, I should help her to,
Exactly.
I need to demonstrate compassion, not empathize. So in corporate, what we say, empathy does not have much of a place anymore. Just putting yourself in the shoes of others. Rather, demonstrate compassion. What is compassion? Anyone knows what is compassion? Pulling others up. So if you are actually an empowered man today, pull the other person up, and that's where exactly you see an empowered India.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, Kunal. So, what is the kind of response that you get? You meet a lot of young people in the similar fashion. How do you deal with? I mean, I'm sure not everybody is very open to.
Talk about this.
Yes.
So the thing is, बहुत सारी जगह पे मैं जब गया हूँ लोगों से बात की, see gender equality in some years has been seen as man hating thing.
Yeah.
ठीक है, क्योंकि मैन को हेट, जेंडर इक्वालिटी क्या है, क्योंकि आप लोग मैन को हेट करते हो, बट दिस इज नॉट द थिंग. ओके, मैंने जैसे पहले ही भी बोला था, क्योंकि हिस्टोरिकली सोशली वुमेन्स को सप्रेस किया गया है, बहुत सारे लॉज है, ठीक है. यू विल बी, मैन वुड बी लाइक कि बहुत सारे लॉज यार वुमेन्स को ही क्यों फेवर करते हैं, बिकॉज दे नीड इट फॉर देयर प्रोटेक्शन, फॉर देयर ओन गुड. बट एट द सेम टाइम मेन्स हैव ऑलवेज स्टूड बाय द वुमेन्स इन करंट टाइम. ओके, अभी के लिए हम मान लेते हैं. what we need to think is कि जब भी हम ये प्रीजुडिसेस जो सर ने बोला कि होते हैं, कि अगर लड़का लड़की पर हाथ उठाता है तो भी नामर्द, और लड़का अगर लड़की से मार खाता है तो भी नामर्द. ये कहां तक का, ठीक है. और अगर हम घर पे वाइफ की या किसी की भी हेल्प करते हैं, देयर इज अ वर्ड इन गुजराती विच इज अ बहिरी गेलो छ, जोरू का गुलाम, ठीक है.
So yeah, these words like some kind
These are the stereotypes with gender equality, with which is within us, and we have been hearing this in our relatives, in our close circle, everywhere. So first of all, to all the men, ठीक है, don't listen to all these things. Listen to one thing. If you want to have a good family, if you want to have a good social structure and social circle, okay, empower each and every person, not only women but men also. Whenever you see, empower them. That only will create equality and equity. But at the second time, also think that when you talk about that, you also have to provide, you also have to be that determined to give your responsibilities, your opportunities, to empower them. कभी कभी कुछ पाने के लिए कुछ खोना पड़ता है. तो अगर इफ यू वांट, बिकॉज यू नो currently we are standing at 132nd position, 135th position in the global disparity. लास्ट ईयर 140th पोजीशन पर थे. खुश होने की बात नहीं है कि 140 से 135 आए, बिकॉज 2016 में 87 पोजीशन पर थे. 87 पोजीशन पर अब इन 2022 वी आर स्टैंडिंग एट 135th पोजीशन. जेंडर डिस्पैरिटी को खत्म करते हुए 132 ईयर्स लगेंगे. आप में से या मेरे में से या इसमें से कोई भी जिंदा नहीं रहने वाला है. सिंपल लॉजिक है. सो इफ यू वांट to see a gender neutral world, equal world, we have to start working towards it. And वो बातों से नहीं होगा. You have to empower each other. You have to break all the stereotypes. You have to break all the things which are moving around it. ठीक है. You have to work for yourself and you have to empower yourself. But as a thing, क्योंकि men पर responsibility आती है because they are the bread earners. तो कभी कभी होता है कि why men also needs to be supported, because मैं मैन के लिए बोल रहा हूँ इसलिए क्योंकि मैन को वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट या जेंडर इक्वालिटी में जाना चाहिए और सपोर्ट करना चाहिए. बिकॉज बॉस खुद को ही कमाना पड़ेगा, खुद को ही घर का काम करने पड़ेगा. सिंपल. होल फैमिलीज रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज ऑन यू, एंड इफ यू डू नॉट वर्क, होल फैमिली वुड बी ऑन रोड्स. सो ऑन दैट पर्सपेक्टिव ऑल्सो ask or empower women to work, but yeah, to share your household responsibilities. Why we are not sharing the household finances? कि भाई इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का बिल तुम भरो, घर का राशन का मैं भरता हूँ. ये नहीं होता है. नहीं, ये जो तुम्हारा पैसा है वो तुम बैंक में जमा कर दो या मैं मेरे बैंक में जमा कर दो. दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंस, बट वी हैव टू शेयर दैट दिस रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज सो दैट द बर्डन will go from 1 to 2, and that is where we will be creating a gender neutral things.
See, I would say that let's not get caught up with these rankings, because these global rankings are given by Western countries, where I would say that in fact women's status is even. Yesterday I was shocked that US में 44 states में child marriage is legal. On what basis are they saying that India is 134th? So first of all, we have this belief that Western countries में, because women drive cars and wear Western clothes, they are empowered. That's not true. I really truly believe that India में Generation Z, we are changing, okay? And women's empowerment, we cannot, these numbers are all very, I would say, disputable. I do not 100% go with these numbers. हमारे में we had Jhansi ki Rani, we had women warriors. We've had woman prime minister. We had a woman defense minister. I saw a recent photograph where women were in the Air Force fight with the fighter jets. we have one amazing officer here. So first of all, as Indians, I would really say that don't get caught up with these Western countries evaluation ke India mein women ki status ye hai, women ki status wo hai. Indian women are becoming very empowered. We can see that in every aspect. So I would really say that I am very hopeful. And the Generation Z, which is my children's generation, my son is 19, daughter is 22, they would laugh at these discussions because I see that they are very, very equal with their batchmates, with their friends. इसमें कोई शंका ही नहीं है. जब माँ बाप बीच में आते हैं, दादा दादी आते हैं, फैमिली आती है, तब थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम होता है. आज सुबह मेरे फादर इन लॉ की जो लास्ट राइट्स हुई है, तो पंडित आए थे, तो मैंने उनको भी पूछा. मैंने कहा कि ये लड़के पिंडदान करते हैं, तो आज मैंने कहा मुझे जेंडर इक्वालिटी के बारे में बोलना है, तो अगर मुझे इतने फीलिंग्स है मेरे फादर के, तो मैं बैठ सकती हूँ ना. ही सर हाँ कर सकते हो. सो हमारे सिस्टम्स में ये सब प्रोविजंस है. इंडियन स्टेट्स में विमेन प्रीस्ट्स है. सो प्लीज एज इंडियंस आई वुड से डू नॉट बाउ योर हेड डाउन एंड से दैट वी विमेन इन इंडिया आर सप्रेस्ड. I completely disagree with that. I think we are very powerful in our
Very powerful.
We've
And if
had
you,
goddesses. Lakshmi is a goddess.
Absolutely.
Saraswati is a goddess.
Correct.
So the most important two things, knowledge and money, is represented by a woman. What else do we want?
law, the longest festival in the world, Navratri, is also around goddess, right? Yeah. And I completely second your thought. For more declaration of this, that how empowered you already are, do read the biography or autobiographies of people like Indra Nui, Naina Lal Kidwai. You have got Chanda Kochar. You have got Shikha Sharma. Okay, Arundhati Banerjee. Read about them because I'm representing corporate, so I must tell this to you. Read about their biographies or whatever articles available. You see that how they became ambitious in the process. They changed the course of the game. And the prime example is we don't talk about Virat Kohlis and the Tendulkars of the world anymore. There's also Jhulan Goswami, right? Yeah. So think about how cricket, which is so male dominant in India, which is a religion in India that we talk about. I was also an ex Ranji Trophy player in Gujarat. So that's what exactly I'm telling you. So that's what exactly it is. No longer a gentleman's game. There's also somebody like, in women's cricket, you will see that somebody is running you out and all. So it's not about getting driven by. See, sports also has completely changed. So I wanted to make a point is you need to go and live through the philosophies of people who have really made it that level and see they encountered challenges, but they became the change. They led the change and they have made the road easier for you, and they are leaving a legacy. So then Z, when you're talking about the centennials who are born, when we are not going to be alive anymore, when the centennials who are born after 2005, when they sit here on the panel, they shouldn't talk about Sati Pratha. They shouldn't talk about anything else. Rather, they say, hey, I want to become I want to build $1 billion company, and this is the way we actually can think of doing it. That's what exactly the idea is.
और एक मिनट
Isha,
एक
yeah.
मिनट
Yeah, sure.
अभी यहाँ बैठे हैं बहुत सारे लोगों ने तालियां बजाई. हमारी बातों से कितने लोग कन्विंस है, खुद कन्विंस है, हाथ खड़े करें. ठीक है, अगर कन्विंस है स्टेप आउट कीजिए. उन 4 लोगों के बारे में मत सोचिए, अपने एक्ट में लाइए. कौन 4 लोग, क्या कहेंगे 4 लोग, उन 4 लोगों के बारे में मत सोचिए. अगर आप दिल से कन्विंस है हमारी बात से, तो आप स्टेप आउट जैसे ही करते हो अपने एक्ट में लाइए. आई थिंक पॉइंट 1 तो चेंज होगा. पॉइंट 1 यही करना है, हमें यही करना है. और आप दूसरे 5 को ये कन्विंस करवाइए. इट्स वर्क. 135 से ऊपर आने में देर नहीं लगेगी.
उदाहरण मत दो, उदाहरण रूप बनो. Yeah, enough of talking now. Let's put it in action.
Yes. Thank you. I was already going to ask everyone to give that one little piece of suggestion, advice that they'd like to leave the young people with. We've talked about many things that we're still going to get into, like our work life, parents and parenting conditioning के बारे में अभी आप खैर कुछ नहीं कर सकते in terms of be the other side, but hold your ground and for the real things. And if there's anything that any of our panelists would here like to add, because we know that law enforcement are not the only ways to be able to make the whole place a safer and a nicer place. Forums like these are good, but they're just going to initiate a conversation. These are the doers, right? We look at you as doers. And if I quickly want to like sum it up to what we're saying, that gender roles are to make our lives easy, to make so that there is a little amount of equity, so that we can all be back to what we were equal, like you just rightly said, Kunal, not biologically, but even in our gender, right? Equal in our roles, equal in our contribution, doing different things. So what? And at the same time, to not find a lot of solace in or a lot of comfort कि एक बार जो वी वांट टू बी वेरी एम्पावर्ड एंड वी वांट टू बी लाइक मैं किसी की बात नहीं सुनूंगी, पर दूसरी बार अगर किसी ने मेरे दरवाजा खोल दिया तो हाय कितना अच्छा लड़का, right? So gender roles in terms of what are we asking for, what are we looking at when we're saying equal, we mean equal from all ends. And I was also listening to the talk before this, and where somebody said that men do take initiatives, but sometimes they don't get recognized, they get misunderstood. So there's also an appeal to the women sitting here in the audience that they are making little gestures. It's not easy. It's not easy to really, overnight make these changes and start, completely rebelling against a lot of systems. But जो छोटे-छोटे से baby steps, छोटे-छोटे कदम जो ले रहे हैं, उनको acknowledge करना है. भले celebrate मत करिए, acknowledge करिए, so that we all together here with the advice that we've received from this place, with the ideas that we've received from this forum today, you should be able to apply it and work towards a more equal world. Yes, yes.
कि आज भी मैंने देखा है कि लड़कियों को बोला जाता है कि रेजर लेके आ, जिलेट लेके आ भाई के लिए, पर सैनिटरी नैपकिंस कोई लेके आता है अपनी बहन के लिए? कौन लेके आता है? मम्मी के लिए, बहन के लिए. वेरी गुड, वेरी गुड. So very nice. So this is where these are the small changes, because women की चीजों के लिए जब shame associate होता है, तो it's not right. So if these guys are doing it, I'm very happy. We see a great future in terms of equality.
The taboos which are associated with menstruation, we are filing one PIL which we are fighting, that apart. But I know, one of the women lawyers working with me, when she goes to the medical store, the person will try to put it in the, she said, no, don't put it in the black bag. I don't want it. I'll take it openly. So it changes her, it changes the onlookers, it changes the shop. So these are small steps, but it's,
One thing that I wanted to add quickly, I know that we are falling short of time. Global, there's a, when you go to Mumbai airport, I was flying, and if you go to the international airport, you will see it is written as Indian at heart and global in spirit. And that fascinates me each time I board a flight from the T2 airport in Mumbai. Indian at heart is all about showing compassion. That's what you should take instead of other false values that we talk about that we should take as a legacy. To me, for Indian at heart is all about the compassion that you demonstrate to the world, and global in spirit is not to wrap yourself in what you are not. That's what I would like to say.
I just want to add something.
Yes,
and see, when you step out of this room, you would be having two options. Either you keep all these things in your mind, or either you throw it in the dustbin. It is your choice. But एज अ यूथ आई वॉन्ट टू टेल ऑल ऑफ यू कि आप लोगों को लगता होगा कि यार ये इन लोगों ने बड़ी बड़ी बातें की, यार 100 सालों में नहीं बदला, अभी क्या बदलेगा, राइट? बट यू आर द यूथ, ओके? अगर यू आर द यूथ एंड कभी भी कोई भी अगर आपको आके ये कहता है कि भाई आप यूथ हो, आप कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते, तो दोस्तों याद रखना कि जब पूरी दुनिया ये सोचती थी ना कि बिना बोले हंसा नहीं सकते थे, चार्ली चैपलिन ने बिना बोले सबको हंसाया था. जब लोगों ने ये सोचा था कि खाना बनाना सिर्फ और सिर्फ औरतों का काम है, संजीव कपूर ने आज इतना अच्छा खाना बना दे, पूरी दुनिया ने उनका खाना चखा है. लोग ये सोचते हैं कि सोशल मीडिया के जमाने में विदाउट इंस्टाग्राम, फेसबुक, स्नैपचैट, इन सब के बिना चेंज नहीं लाया जा सकता. गांधी जी के एक कहने पर लाखों लोग सत्याग्रह पर उतरते थे, ठीक है? लोग ये सोचते थे कि आपको अगर किसी भी बड़ी पोजीशन पे जाना है तो आपके पास बैकअप होना चाहिए. शाहरुख खान इज स्टिल द किंग ऑफ द बॉलीवुड. लोग ये सोचते हैं कि बड़ी कंपनी खोलने के लिए पैसा चाहिए, ठीक है? धीरू भाई अंबानी पेट्रोल पंप के अटेंडेंट थे, आज इतनी बड़ी कंपनी खोली है, क्या है नाम? कर लो दुनिया मुट्ठी में. और जब लोग ये सोचते हैं कि अगर आप छोटे इंसान हो, बड़ी चीज नहीं कर सकते, याद रखना कि एक चाय वाला इस देश का प्रधानमंत्री है. यू कैन डू वट एवर यू वॉन्ट टू डू. You can do whatever you want to do. Just believe in yourself. Ignite the talks and ignite whatever you want to do. यहाँ से जितना भी lessons लेकर जा सकते हो जाना, but उसको 4 चीजें सुनिए, उसमें से कम एक प्लीज implement करना, ठीक है? Thank you.
Thank you, Kunal, and thank you all panelists. Thank you so much for your time, for these insights. I know we could go on and on and on, but we're all also simultaneously looking at our watches. Thank you, audience. Thank you for your lovely participation, your expressions. You're constantly watching your applause. All of that really, I think, got the entire panel all really charged up. And we talked about many things that were beyond the scope of this panel discussion. So all thanks to you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Before I proceed with word of thanks, I would request research paper presenters to move to room number 205 in HA building. You are awaited over there for research paper presentation. So if there are any presenters over here, you are requested to move. Thank you. Distinguished panelists, invited guests, participants, and students, it is indeed a matter of pleasure for me to propose vote of thanks on behalf of GLS University. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude towards Megha ma'am, who took off time from her busy schedule to share her views on the topic. It is heartening to know from you, ma'am, that women have been successful in penetrating the legal area, which has earlier been considered to be a male domain. I would like to place on record our gratitude towards Minnie ma'am, who shared her views extracted from her first hand experiences. I appreciate your viewpoint that women should not grumble for being multitasker. Your views have been well received by the audience as well. My sincere thanks goes to Kaushik sir, who specially flew from Mumbai to be a part of this colloquium and shed light on the situation existing in the corporate world. Your views on women empowerment have been thought provoking. I'm grateful to Riri ma'am for establishing the fact that gender roles are consequences of a mindset. Your viewpoint of changing people's mindset towards women have many takers in the audience. I thank Isha ma'am for sharing her valuable views on the topic and how protectionism towards women has stemmed from concern towards their safety. I express my thankfulness to Krunal for expressing very boldly his views on what 21st century women needs: empowerment, rights, or respect. I'm thankful to Rebecca for conducting the discussion in an engrossing manner. Overall, what has emerged out of this discussion is that women's contribution to the society has increased multifold as they have forayed into the fields which were earlier considered to be male dominated. All panelists have observed that there is a subtle change taking place in terms of recognizing and acknowledging women's power. I want to thank you all, audience, for being here as a patient listeners, right? I'm thankful to all those who have contributed directly or indirectly to make this event a huge success. Before I sign off, I would like to inform the gathering that we shall continue with quiz competition in the auditorium after lunch break, whereas events like research paper presentation, lit met art, book pe charcha, and slam poetry will take place on the third floor of HA building. May I request you all to rise for national anthem?
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you.